For years, one question has followed the Amish everywhere they go. What really happens on an Amish wedding night? The internet is full of wild stories, shocking rumors, and strange claims. But almost none of them come from Amish people themselves. Then, at just 25 years old, Rosanna Miller decided to speak about one of the most private parts of Amish life. What she revealed surprised thousands of people. Not because it was shocking, but because it was so different from what most people believed. Before we begin, here's something to think about. If your family's traditions were misunderstood by millions of strangers, would you stay silent, or would you finally tell the truth? Let me know what you would do in the comments. The Amish have always valued a quiet life. They believe faith, family, and humility matter more than attention. That is why very few Amish people give interviews or talk openly about their personal lives. Privacy is not just a preference. It is part of their way of living. Because of that silence, rumors have filled the gap. Books, websites, social media posts, and even television shows have often mixed facts with fiction. Over the years, stories about Amish weddings and wedding nights became more dramatic each time they were retold. Some people accepted those stories without ever asking whether they were true. But that was only the beginning. Rosanna Miller grew up in this world, surrounded by traditions that have been passed down for generations. Marriage was never treated like a public event or entertainment. It was seen as a sacred promise before God, built on love, commitment, and responsibility. According to Amish researchers such as Donald B. Craybill and accounts shared in interviews by former and current Amish community members, Amish weddings focus on faith, family, and community rather than luxury or public display. As Rosanna grew older, she began noticing something unexpected. The more popular the Amish became online, the more unbelievable the stories became. People who had never stepped inside an Amish home claimed to know every secret about Amish marriage. Some stories were harmless. Others painted Amish families in ways they did not recognize at all. That is when Rosanna faced a difficult choice. She could ignore the rumors, just as many before her had done. Or she could carefully explain what wedding nights are really like while still respecting the values she was raised with. What happened next would challenge years of internet myths and reveal a side of Amish life that very few outsiders had ever heard directly from someone living it. To understand why Rosanna's words mattered so much, you first have to understand the world she came from. Rosanna Miller was raised in an Amish community where every day followed a simple rhythm. The morning started early. Family came first. Work was part of life, not something to avoid. Children learned responsibility from a young age by helping around the house, caring for animals, or working in the fields. Life moved at a slower pace, but it was built on strong values. Unlike the world outside, success was not measured by money or fame. It was measured by faith, kindness, and service to others. These beliefs shaped every important decision, especially when it came to marriage. But there was something many outsiders never realized. Marriage was never treated as the end of a fairy tale. Instead, it was seen as the beginning of a lifetime of hard work together. Amish writers and researchers, including Donald B. Craybill, have explained that marriage is viewed as a sacred covenant before God, with a focus on building a family and serving the community rather than celebrating personal romance alone. That simple idea changes everything. While many modern weddings spend months planning decorations, music, and expensive venues, Amish weddings are intentionally modest. The ceremony is usually held in a family home, followed by a large community meal. Friends and relatives help prepare food, set up tables, and welcome guests. The celebration is joyful, but it is also deeply connected to faith. But behind those peaceful traditions was another reality. Young Amish men and women spend years preparing for adult responsibilities before marriage. They are expected to learn patience, self-control, and commitment. Courtship is taken seriously because the goal is not simply finding someone to date. The goal is finding someone to build a lifelong partnership with. That made Rosanna's journey very different from what many viewers might imagine. As she grew older, she watched older sisters, cousins, and friends marry. Each wedding followed traditions that had been respected for generations. Yet after every ceremony, the same strange rumors continued spreading online. People claimed Amish wedding nights included shocking rituals or secret customs that were rarely supported by reliable evidence. Researchers, former Amish members, and journalists who have spent years studying Amish communities consistently note that many sensational online stories about Amish wedding nights are exaggerated or entirely invented. While customs vary between Amish groups, the wedding night itself is generally regarded as a private matter between husband and wife, not a public tradition filled with dramatic rituals. That realization stayed with Rosanna. She understood why Amish families rarely answer these claims. Their culture teaches humility and avoiding unnecessary attention. Responding to every rumor would only bring more attention to private family life. But the silence had a price. Every year, more videos, articles, and social media posts claim to reveal hidden Amish secrets. Many gained millions of views. Some mixed small pieces of truth with stories that had little or no connection to real Amish life. For someone raised inside that community, watching those myths spread could be frustrating. Still, Rosanna remained quiet, at least for a while, because the moment she finally decided to speak wasn't planned. It came after one question kept appearing again and again, a question that millions of curious people wanted answered. And when Rosanna finally addressed it, many expected something unbelievable. Instead, they heard something far more powerful. Before we get to that moment, the one that changed how many people viewed Amish marriage, make sure you subscribe. We dig into the stories behind the headlines and separate verified facts from internet myths, including the details that often get left out. By the time Rosanna was old enough to think about marriage, she already understood one important lesson. In Amish life, love is not rushed. It grows slowly through trust, shared values, and time spent getting to know one another. That alone surprises many people. Movies and social media often make it seem as if every romance must be dramatic or filled with grand gestures. But in many Amish communities, relationships begin quietly. Young men and women meet through church gatherings, family events, and community activities. As researchers like Donald B. Craybill and other scholars of Amish life have documented, courtship practices vary from one community to another, but they generally emphasize commitment, family involvement, and shared faith over casual dating. Rosanna's experience reflected those values. As her relationship grew, the focus was never on creating a perfect social media moment or planning an expensive proposal. Instead, the question was simple. Could they build a faithful life together? Would they support each other through hard work, family responsibilities, and the challenges that every marriage eventually brings? Those questions mattered far more than fancy rings or luxurious weddings. But there was another tradition that caught the attention of outsiders. Amish weddings are usually held in late fall or early winter, after the busy harvest season. Friends, relatives, and neighbors often spend days preparing food and arranging everything for the celebration. Hundreds of guests may attend, turning the wedding into one of the biggest community events of the year. Yet despite its size, the ceremony itself remains modest, centered on faith rather than spectacle. Then came the moment everyone had been waiting for. After the ceremony ended and the guests slowly returned home, Rosanna and her husband began the first evening of their married life together. For countless people online, this was the moment surrounded by endless mystery. Rumors claimed there were hidden ceremonies, strange rituals, or shocking traditions that outsiders could hardly imagine. Rosanna's explanation painted a very different picture. According to her account, the wedding night was not about sensational rituals or secret ceremonies. It was about beginning married life together after a long, emotional day surrounded by family and friends. Like many newly married couples anywhere in the world, they were exhausted, excited, and stepping into a completely new chapter of life. That answer disappointed people looking for shocking headlines. But it also carried an important message. The biggest secret was that there was no dramatic secret at all. Many Amish traditions are intentionally private, not because they are bizarre, but because they are personal. Marriage is considered sacred, and intimate moments between husband and wife are treated with dignity rather than discussed publicly. Historians and journalists who have studied Amish communities for decades have repeatedly noted that the most sensational claims circulating online usually come from rumor, speculation, or entertainment, not from verified Amish sources. For Rosanna, sharing that truth was more difficult than many people realized. She knew that some viewers would accuse her of hiding something. Others would continue believing the myths because they were more exciting than reality. Yet she also knew that honesty mattered more than feeding curiosity, and that decision would bring an unexpected reaction. Some people thanked her for correcting years of misinformation. Others criticized her for speaking about a subject many Amish families considered deeply private. Suddenly, Rosanna found herself standing between two very different worlds, one that valued silence and another that demanded answers. What happened after that would become the most challenging chapter of her story. Rosanna may have answered one of the internet's biggest questions, but her story did not end there. In many ways, it was only beginning. For someone raised in a culture that values humility and privacy, speaking publicly about Amish life can bring mixed reactions. Some people appreciate the chance to learn from someone with firsthand experience. Others worry that sharing too much could take attention away from the values their community tries to protect. Rosanna understood that balance. She was not trying to turn private family moments into entertainment. Instead, she wanted people to stop believing stories that had little connection to real Amish life. Again and again, she reminded viewers that every Amish community is different. Customs can vary from one district to another, so no single person can speak for every Amish family. That detail is easy to miss, but it changes everything. Many online videos present Amish culture as if every community follows exactly the same rules. In reality, scholars such as Donald B. Craybill have explained that there are many Amish affiliations, each with its own traditions and expectations. While they share core religious beliefs, daily practices often differ depending on the community. The internet rarely leaves room for that kind of nuance. Instead, dramatic headlines spread faster than careful explanations. A strange rumor can reach millions of people in a few days, while a quiet correction may never travel as far. Rosanna found herself facing that challenge. Even after she spoke openly, some people continued repeating the same myths because they were more exciting than the truth. But something unexpected also happened. Many viewers thanked her for reminding them that the Amish are real people, not characters in mysterious stories. They saw a young woman trying to explain her culture with honesty and respect, rather than creating shocking headlines for attention. That message reaches far beyond the Amish community. Many people watching right now may know what it feels like to be misunderstood. Maybe someone judged you before they knew your story. Maybe people believed rumors instead of asking you directly. Rosanna's experience reminds us that one conversation can sometimes replace years of misunderstanding. The truth may not always be dramatic, but it often deserves to be heard. Still, one question remained. Why do so many myths about Amish life survive even when reliable information is available? The answer says as much about us as it does about the Amish. People are naturally drawn to mystery. When a community values privacy, curiosity grows. If no one explains the facts, imagination often fills the empty spaces. Rosanna chose a different path.